Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, and welcome to our Innovation Talk Let's Exchange series. I'm Monique Elliott, Senior Vice President of Global Marketing for Industrial Automation at Schneider Electric. And if you've been in the industrial world for a while, like our guests today, I'm going to ask you to open your mind to a new, better, more exciting future. For the next hour, we will leap forward and explore something you have never seen before. And that's because we believe the time is right for a bold move in industrial automation. We are calling it universal automation, and it will forever change the way we automate operations. Now, universal automation is the world of plug and produce automation software components. So think of it like an app store, which is enabled by the IEC 61499 standard. We are calling on all stakeholders across industry to embrace universal automation and usher in a new era of a la carte automation. This is where cost performance is optimized by integrating best of breed components without regard to vendors. So a very interesting conversation we will be having today. And I am joined by a panel of experts that will be sharing their perspectives on universal automation. We're going to explore how joining an open ecosystem of experts is key to helping your business thrive in our ever-changing world today. So with me, I have Andre Bobineau, Marketing Director for Schneider Electric's Next Generation Industrial Automation Incubator, Bridget Fitzpatrick, Global Technical Lead at Wood, a leading global system integrator for process controls and safety systems, and Franco Cavandini, R&D Project Manager at Synesys Consortium, an expert in technology transfer of advanced automation solutions. Now, before we get started, I just want to remind everyone who's joining us today, you can use the chat function during the session to ask your questions. Our experts are here to answer them for you. And we'll also be taking questions verbally at the end. So with that, let's get started. We have an hour together. Andre, I am going to start with you. So, Andre, many believe that the future of industry is limited by closed and proprietary automation platforms. While information technology has adopted open platforms and is rapidly evolving, industrial technology has mostly stayed the same. So tell us, why is it time for industrial operational technology to make the change?
Oh, excellent question, Monique. Thank you. And it's true that our current industrial automation system has really, for the last 50 years, allowed us to reach unprecedented level of production. But it's true that today we're kind of limited, and we need to embrace the open automation, as you mentioned. But it's not open enough. We heard open automation quite a bit, but we believe we need a little bit more to really be more open. So we need what we say interoperable and portable application software to enable this next generation and its leap in automation. Our industry has been on the edge of the disruption and trying to attempt to meet this ultimate goal, I would say, of the fourth industrial revolution. But today, as we live through this COVID situation, we've seen that this ever-changing global market, not necessarily predictable, force us really to have more resilience and more agility in the way we embrace the market. So this can come from our digitalization expertise and building and using digitalization to build those interoperable, best-of-breed industrial automation systems. The IT world, as you mentioned, has been leveraging open systems from the last decade and probably even more. So it's our turn now. It's our turn to go and embrace this openness and provide the agility and the resilience that are paramount to our modern industrial operation. To fully realize the promise of the fourth industrial revolution, we need to reimagine our technology by opening our platform, decoupling the software from the hardware, and radically improving our agility and scalability.
There's a few words in there that I think are really important, and we're going to hear them a lot today, and that's the agility and the resilience and the scalability. And I think it makes a lot of sense, right? Especially what we're talking about in today's very, very fast-paced changing world. So maybe, Andre, you could tell us, what is Schneider Electric then doing about this?
Yeah, that's a good question. Schneider Electric is really delivering on what we call the universal automation vision with the release of our EcoStruxure Automation Expert. It is the first universal automation offering based on IEC 61499 standard, and it begins a new era of a more software-centric, interoperable industrial automation. EcoStruxure Automation Expert is a new category of industrial automation system with IEC 61499 as its core. EcoStruxure Automation Expert enables automation application to be built using an asset-centric, it's portable, with proven in use software component, and really more importantly, independent of the hardware platform below. It allows the user to decide how he wants to manage his solution from a centrally or fully distributed application. It supports established software best practice to simplify the creation of automation applications that are easily portable to the IT level. So we're bridging also the gap to what I call more management systems.
Right. I think, again, and I'm going to probably talk a lot about words and language, because I do think the language is very important in this topic around open and interoperable. And so, Bridget, I'd like to maybe put this question to you, and welcome. Thank you for joining us today. So in your words, what does open and interoperable technology mean for industry? And then maybe a follow-up question, we'd love to hear about your experience thus far with EcoStruxure Automation Expert.
All righty. Definitely when Wood first became aware of this, heard about some of these initiatives, we immediately got excited and saw some interesting opportunities for us. And really key among it is the open and the interoperable. And we really saw it as an opportunity to move from the closed proprietary systems that were kind of limited into open standards where we could really leverage our own intellectual property. So, for me, it really is a system that can allow end users to really do best in breed solutions and pick and choose what pieces to plug together. So Wood has been engaged in this for a while. We're a member of the Open Process Automation Forum. We supported writing the original business guide, trying to sell the concept to other systems integrators and other users in the business structure. We also are supporting the OPA standard writing, and I actually also serve as one of the United States experts on the 61499 committee. So we definitely see this as a great potential for the future, and are happy to be supporting it all. We also worked with Lockheed Martin in supporting the ExxonMobil OPA pilot that was recently completed. And in that effort, we wrote a series of function blocks to do kind of basic control, and then had a series of applications to do, as well as doing the HMI support. So that was really our first detailed exposure, I guess, to the EcoStruxure Automation Expert runtime. And I really found it to be quite powerful. A couple of things that I thought are probably worth highlighting. One of the things is that it's event-based. So when I look back over automation breakthroughs in the last few years, one of the things that I liked the most was the new PID plus algorithm that surfaced, that took the traditional PID algorithm but kind of decoupled part of it from time-based and only did some of the calculations when you got a new PV. So I liked the efficiency of that. So jumping into this new platform, which is event-based completely, has some capabilities to do some things time-based, but I think that there really are some interesting possibilities looking at things from an event basis, and having some real flexibility to do some creative customization. So it being open as well meant that when we were doing that pilot for ExxonMobil, we were using a third-party HMI, and we basically found it quite easy to quickly create some tools to parse the OPC UA namespace and generate some templates, and presto, auto-generate a bunch of things. So there's some real capabilities in the tool itself or in the tools themselves, but also the ability to quickly make your own tools. And kind of as we've been on this journey, we've been working the last few years on our own library of control function blocks. So we've found that journey interesting, and we're looking forward to releasing that into the wild sometime soon.
Excellent. Thank you, Bridget. Thank you for that very much. Franco, welcome as well. Now you are also working on a lot of innovative projects. So how do you see universal automation impacting industrial sustainability? I'm going to use that word again, resiliency and efficiency.
Well, first of all, thank you, Monique. It's a pleasure to be here. Look, it's true that I work in innovative project and, let's say, R&D ones. And what we have been seeing during the past few years is that the market is actually starting to change radically. Keywords such as sustainability, forward-looking, and so on are starting to become an absolute requirement for the industry, which means that the way automation answers these requirements is concurrently changing. And in our world, we cannot, let's say, stay still for much more. We need to adapt to this. And you know, what these keywords most of the time means is more advanced algorithms. It means what it's usually called as the convergence between operational technology and informational technology. It's true that the market has already started offering some solutions, but most of the time it's quick and dirty patches to the real problem. And the real problem is that we need a different way of engineering these systems. We need to have a systemic approach to how automation is designed since the beginning, and this requires new modeling, formalism, and a technology that adequately supports this transition. And here it's actually where universal automation and IEC 61499 really comes into play. The event-based nature of the standard that Bridget explained very well, but also the natural predisposition to exist in between the OT and the IT means that it's the perfect technology to support this transition. To me, 61499 is really the bridge toward this new generation of automation systems. And what I like to remark most of the time when talking about these topics is that it's not going to be just a technological transition. The reality is that practitioners in our domain are very much used to a certain way of doing things, of engineering, even very complex systems. And what we are suggesting them is that they need to change the way they conceive these systems. Now, there is a cultural gap that exists in the market. We cannot avoid considering it. And so bringing universal automation, EcoStruxure automation expert as a solution from a technical point of view means that we need also to tackle the training aspects, the cultural preparation of automation practitioners. And I think this is going to play a fundamental role in the acceptation of universal automation in the market.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Franco, you bring up just an excellent point, because it's not just about the technology, it's also about the people and the training that needs to happen as well. Bridget, do you agree with this statement?
Oh, absolutely. And definitely I've run across a lot of people out in the field that kind of sadly ask me, when did they sign up for some of this IT stuff? So there's definitely some issues out there. Though I think the biggest thing to understand is really when you look at the IT world with confidentiality, integrity, and availability as kind of three sides of the triangle, a lot of times availability is the lesser one for the IT side and probably the most critical one for the OT side. So there's definitely some culture gaps there and a need to kind of understand what the future looks like moving forward. So a bit of a learning curve.
Yep, I think that's fair. I think it's a fair statement. But maybe we'll take this now kind of into a practical application. So Andre, on a practical level, how does EcoStruxure Automation Expert apply to greenfield and brownfield installations and integration to third-party systems?
Oh, yeah. Managing an install base is a wide and complex topic, as you can imagine. You need to deal not only with a few control system vendors, but probably 100 or 1,000 of control equipment, like vendors like chiller, pumps, columns, boilers, valves, you name it, any process equipment that you need to manage this install base and this process. So it is complex, and no one company really can fix this by themselves. So to help facilitate this complex problem, our system is designed, and we're building around our system an ecosystem to create software component to connect to different types of devices, say a chiller or boiler, that comes maybe from that manufacturer, and we offer this design and configuration via our digital marketplace. IEC 61499 is really a technical enabler for the plug and produce, so you can really start interoperate, as we talked about before, of a software components. And universal automation is really the business enabler to enable this ecosystem. So enabling the ecosystem to produce software component for linking to the legacy system is one thing, but also looking how we can easily migrate this intellectual property that was developed over the years from our customer perspective, migrate it in such a way that it can be applied to the new installation.
I think, and maybe some of the folks who are listening in, it all sounds good in theory. I guess the next question would be, so what is the impact of this on engineering productivity?
Oh, definitely. That's definitely an aspect of our new EcoStruxure Automation Expert that we really spend a whole lot of time to, and to make sure that we bring the best user experience and the most efficient user experience for engineering. So our operational efficiency, the way we look at it, it's probably 3 to 4 times what it used to be from our previous generation system. And an example, in a recent test, when we took EcoStruxure Automation Expert, save about 60 to 70% of application engineering hours when compared to another vendor. It only took 1/3 of the time to perform the same task when using EcoStruxure Automation Expert compared to the existing platforms. In another test that we've done, it demonstrated really about 50% to 80% of the time it took some system management function. Not only about, we're talking about engineering, but what about the operational effectiveness? So to do system diagnostic while you're running can also be a task that's tedious. And now we make it a lot simpler and a lot more automated to simplify the life of our customers, to simplify the troubleshooting and making sure they can get to the problem rapidly. So there are many plants operating today are even under construction using inefficient engineering. So we're trying to look at design data and how can we leverage that design data through the engineering phase, but also to the operation phase to make it a continuous process within our new technology. New disruptive digitalized systems like EcoStruxure Automation Expert is available, and it's there to help transition towards those issues.
Yep. So if I can, Andre, I mean, what we're talking about here is to implement a flexible, agile system that allows this a la carte automation for industry at the end of the day. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Bridget, look, I think that sometimes this can really come to life with customer stories as opposed to just talking about it around kind of the topic. So can you share some customer stories really illustrating how this will benefit the end user?
Absolutely. So kind of going back to that ExxonMobil pilot, basically the process was 4 trains of reactors. And what we ended up doing was we built the control application for the train and the process interlock application for each train as a template, sorted out all the details, made sure we were happy with it, and then we basically just cloned that for the remaining 3 trains. And at Wood, we do a lot of automation. We're very used to modular designs and templates and cloning. But in this situation, we spent a couple of days at the start of the project in a bit of a workshop with some folks from Schneider Electric, really helped us understand and embrace some of the concepts that are in the technology. And in doing that, we did some generic naming of items inside the application, so that when we did the cloning, it really was, just a few minutes of exercise and then hooking up the I/O like you would have anyway. So it really, to me, felt like it was different and was much more efficient. So that was definitely a big piece. The other thing about embracing the technology that I probably wanted to talk about is that I kind of went in there with a little bit of an old school hat on of how do I take these, thousands of lines of code that are going to be in these systems that we're going to want to migrate. How can I brute force just do it in some tools? And so we did enough of that to prove that we could, but then I stepped back and realized that by embracing the custom execution environment and the event-based technology, that I could quickly simplify the applications and use that new technology in a way that made them better. And with the event-based execution, you're kind of open to look at all the different failure modes and maybe handle them better than we used to in the proprietary systems. So there really is some engineering efficiency in the templating and the open nature of it that lets you generate your own tools for bulk processing pretty readily. But really the power of it, I think, is embracing the capabilities that are inherent in the system.
Excellent. Thank you, Bridget. Franco, I'd love to come back to you, and maybe you can educate us a bit more on IEC 61499 and help us understand how this bridges the gap between IT and OT systems, and really how this is also enabling Industry 4.0.
Yes, of course, Monique. In the applications that I'm actually following, both in the manufacturing and the process industry, where 61499 is being applied, we are already seeing what the Industry 4.0 promise actually put into our screen, which is this extension of physical assets into the digital domain, the concept of digital twin of physical assets, which in other words is what you call the convergence, the integration between the IT and the OT. Well, in the manufacturing industry, what we have already applied is extending the concept of virtual commissioning, so the idea of testing automation software well before having the physical assets available, by a strict integration between simulation tools and 61499. And this is made very easy thanks to the event-based nature of the standard, which is something that traditional automation systems with their scan cycle-based technology tends to do in a difficult way. In another term, another aspect which brings forward the concept of IT-OT integration is the object-oriented nature of IEC 61499, because we can really represent with single software objects the multiple facets of an asset, not just its control logic, but other, say, algorithms, other functionalities that these assets can actually express, not just in its physical appearance, but also thanks to its digital twins. And this is certainly one of the features that we mostly look forward in the EcoStruxure automation expert deployment into the market. If I look a bit more into the specificities of the process industry, on the other end, what we saw since the beginning is the natural complementarity that IEC 61499 offers with respect to the traditional engineering practices of the process industry. So the idea that you could pass directly or almost automatically from a P&I diagram to the automation project, passing through templates or things like that, is another key point that could be easily achieved thanks to the standard itself. In general terms, what we get is the opportunity of extending control traditional control well beyond the boundaries of the physical systems, to include those technologies such as data analytics, artificial intelligence that everybody talks about, but today is difficult to implement because of the constraints of traditional automation. This is where I really think that the EcoStruxure Automation Expert platform will shine.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you, Franco. Bridget, what about you? I mean, with all of your experience as well, I'd love to hear your thoughts on how this helps bridge the gap.
So definitely kind of echoing what Franco was saying, one of the things that we did, again, looking back at the Exxon pilot, was we did create sub-applications where we took, say, everything related to a controller and all those different bits and pieces and all the alarm handling related to them, and we made that as a sub-application. So definitely there's a capability of layering complexities so that you can, easily build one object and then have that object, automatically link up to HMI, etc. Some of the other things that we worked on, included linking to external reporting systems and paging systems, and really found the open nature of the runtime quite efficient at supporting that. So definitely see that. We also found it interesting with the decoupling of the hardware and the software. Universal I/O as a concept has been around a while, though I think that EcoStruxure Automation Expert kind of takes it to the next level and really does decouple the hardware and the software, which for a system integrator doing large projects, it really is powerful to be able to flexibly connect your I/O wherever it makes sense or run applications wherever it made sense. And definitely in the piloting work that we did, we moved applications from one control box to another control box to kind of prove the concept that flexibility really was quite powerful. And one of the other things that's quite powerful in the technology is the ability to test all of your things offline. We did use a product from Wood, our VP Link simulator, to test the hardware straight through into our applications offline, but we also extensively just used the soft PLC link to test our things as we went along. So it really is quite a powerful platform, and really fully supports the modularity that Industry 4.0 is really crying for. So the open nature of it, the modularity of it, really makes it a powerful platform to leverage in applications really across all different types of vertical markets.
Excellent. Thank you. Thanks, Bridget. So Andre, I'm going to go back to you, and I'm going to throw you probably maybe the hardest question of the session, and that is, how difficult is it to transform to this new technology?
It's not difficult at all. That's an excellent question. But honestly, if we look at 61499, which it's a standard, an IEC standard, that's really in fact an extension of the well-known standard of 611131, which is also an IEC standard, that was there to remove some of the limitation that existed in the original implementation of 1131. So we're not totally starting from scratch. Yes, it's a new technology. There's new concept to accept and work with. But really, when we talk about EcoStruxure Automation Expert, to ease that transition, we're really building a library of software component out of the box. So really, you have something to work with. You don't have to learn from the really bottom. We're giving you already a head start with it. And with IEC 61499, it doesn't specify your programming language used in function blocks, although it does recommend the use of 1131 as we know it. So the language that we use is structured text. So standard PLC programmers will understand what it is, so they don't have to learn something totally new. And as I said, again, it's an extension of that 1131 that we know and loved in the past. But also 61499, to bridge that gap and be event-driven, has a state machine, which is, again, a little bit new but it really allows you to do that transition to more to the IT world, as we talked about, and as Franco mentioned earlier on. It makes it really easy to make that transition. Mm-hmm. So in the future, we'll continue to provide in-use software components, really through our ecosystem, through universal automation. So the whole time of programming, it will be reduced. And that's really our objective that we started, and we've proven it in some of the numbers we shared with you today. So it will become more and more a non-automation specialist to build it, with more maybe process knowledge to be able to build the application to another level to allow us to reach this automation in our business and increase our productivity again.
Excellent. Good. Could you tell us, that's very helpful, and you're right, maybe it wasn't a hard question, but could you tell us a little bit too about the communities that we have on seexchange.com?
Certainly, I can talk a little bit about the exchange, and it's really what it is. It's a bunch of experts that can answer all your questions first. Right. You can definitely share your expertise, your experience, like Bridget has done some real life project. It's really an environment where she could share some of that expertise and knowledge, and also some of the proven and use software that they develop to be able to share it with the larger community. So you can really collaborate with peers. Mm-hmm. And also other solutions that others may bring and want to really start exchanging with others.
Excellent, excellent. So maybe, Franco, I can go to you on this one, and you can help us understand, why do we need this community approach that Andre shared with us to make this, let's call it a quantum leap for industry?
Well, this is a topic that I really have, let's say, near to me because of my role as a technology transfer expert. The truth is that every time we face an industrial revolution, such as we are actually doing, there is a chicken and the egg problem. We want to push a revolutionary technology, such as IEC 61499 is, but actually there are not many people in the market using it yet, even if there is continuity, as Andre was explaining with respect to 61131. So what we need is to grow as fast as possible an installed basis of people that not only just buy the technology, but also show the potentiality of it. Because honestly, we can go and talk for hours about how we could do incredible things with 61499, but there is nothing such as hundreds of use cases, of examples to guide the entry for other people to start using the technology. And let me say that the direct involvement of end users is going to be fundamental in this phase, because end users are going to express their need. And what we are offering is a new technology to satisfy better existing needs. So we need to start from customers, from end users. And another point which is fundamental is exploiting the interoperability of the IEC 61499 standard. It is a standard which was conceived to be hardware independent and to be interoperable, which is something, I must be honest in saying, was not satisfied by 61131 standard. So this is a strength of our technology, of this technology, which should really be exploited. I would like also to add a couple of words about the concept of having an ecosystem. Traditionally, the industrial automation domain has been mostly what is called a linear value chain. Everything starts from suppliers, from vendors, and then goes progressively into the market. Now, in bringing forward the concept of an ecosystem, of a marketplace, we are actually pushing the automation domain to become what is called a multi-sided market, where you have multiple complementors contributing together to the growth of the value of the market itself. So you have software developers who are going to develop libraries in 61499, reusable in different domains. Now, it's not just about putting online a digital marketplace. It's really sustaining the creation of a community. And this ecosystem that Andre presented, and which is partially already launching the Schneider Electric Exchange.com platform, is exactly what we need to sustain the growth of this new technology.
Franco, I'm glad you mentioned it's not about just having a marketplace, but it's having this sustained community. And Bridget, I can see you nodding as well along with us. What are your thoughts on this collaborative ecosystem, this sustained community, as Franco mentioned?
So one of the things that I was thinking about as I was nodding was thinking back to the ISA standards work that I've been involved with over the years. So the International Society of Automation over the last year or so has started some efforts to write standards around control algorithms. So one of the first ones that they've started on is the PID algo, which most people would think, oh, we've been doing that for decades. What could there possibly be to do? And the reality is that all the different proprietary systems had their own slightly different interpretation, and most of them also had multiple versions. So part of it is to kind of re-engineer that again. So would make a pitch that people get involved in that. And so the main reason that I got involved with the ISA many years ago was to try and make sure that what they put out in a standard was resilient and made sense for my processes. So kind of what I was thinking is it's really the same pitch here for the end users and the other integrators to all get involved so that we make sure that what we're producing as this next generation really is resilient and fit for use and all that good stuff. And really, it's a new playing field. So, in any part of life, a team is going to come up with a better solution than any one company, one individual. So definitely see it as an interesting opportunity to jump in and make sure that what we produce is better.
Right. Right. So what I'm hearing is obviously, more minds are better than one. However many minds that is, it's better than one. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
I think we could not agree more with you. And I think now too, everyone should see on your screen a QR code that you can scan with your smartphone, so you can visit the Schneider Electric Exchange. You will be able to access the community there that can help you get started and answer your questions. If you happen to be watching us on your phone, you can go directly to exchange.se.com. So now we have about 20 minutes for questions, so I think it's a perfect time to start. I know we have plenty coming in, so I am just going to go back up here to the beginning. And Andre, we're going to start with you. So this question comes from Priya, and they are asking, how do you suggest machine-to-machine communication coupled with IoT, and I just lost the question, one second, coupled with IoT technology and automation be kept secure and safe in industrial processes?
Oh, good question. Definitely machine-to-machine is something that we need, and as we're building interoperable system, that's something we spend a lot of time to develop and use open standards. Obviously, our system being interoperable need to be open, so we're leveraging some of the open standard like OPC UA that you might know of. And the other thing that we're doing from our own software development perspective, that everything we do is based on 62443 to make sure we're building cybersecure and implement with cybersecure. It's a brand new system, so we're allowed to go in and really design it from the ground up, a cybersecure infrastructure for software, including machine-to-machine, because that's definitely our target to make sure that we meet the level of what 62443 is calling for us. So we do have this cybersecure communication from machine-to-machine and all around our new software solution.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. This is from Priya as well, to Franco this time. So Franco, the question is, how do your systems manage to complement various technologies and multiple generations?
Well, it's another interesting question. And I would mention one keyword which is essential to 61499 practitioner, which is orchestration. Now, the standard was conceived as an evolution of 61131 to model a systemic view, not to substitute legacy systems or internal way of developing code. And this is also an incredibly powerful tool the moment you have to deal with different technologies, to integrating legacy systems, older one, and so on, because you can actually use IEC 61499 as a means to put together different technologies and having them work in an orchestrated way. So it's really a good approach to guarantee a progressive transition from existing systems to the new generation ones by integrating them and not substituting them. So this is how we actually try to manage this approach.
Excellent. Thank you, Franco. Another question coming in here. Bridget, this one is directly to you from Ahmed. Hello, Ahmed. What about the compatibility with the open source software?
With the open source software?
Yes. So the question is, what about compatibility with open source software?
It definitely is possible, not really a problem. So to Franco's point, the technology really supports a number of different interfaces and communication protocols. So definitely would see that as easy.
Yep. Okay. Good. Excellent. Franco, I have another one that just came in from you, and this one asks about, so how about system efficiency to run the operations while working against deadlines?
Well, this is a difficult question, because I mean it puts together multiple aspects. I would say that one of the challenges that production is currently seeing is the dynamicity of change induced by the market. Once upon a time, what you did was designing and putting online a plant and then having it run in the same exact way for years. Now you need to really adapt quickly, to reconfigure depending on the markets coming on the dynamics coming from the market. So what a technology such as the one proposed by Automation Expert does is allowing you to, let's say, satisfy the deadlines in terms of development of the software and then bringing it online and having it commissioned, but also being faster in changing the structure of your code. So you can actually reuse code from other applications, reconfigure the system while you are almost live, or probably in the near future, even while you are live. You get redundancy without any specific, let's say, solution, because basically you are independent from the hardware, so you can move pieces of software from one controller to the other. You can update existing systems without changing all of your platform. So maybe you can stay updated and have new controllers, more powerful one, integrating new technology without revolutionizing your code. So overall, what you get is a more effective way to deal with deadlines, because you're actually faster in adapting your code to the needs of the market.
Right. Excellent. Thank you. We have a lot of questions coming in around Exchange. So there's some interest here, and Andre, I'd like to go back to you on this one. So what kind of things can you find in Exchange? And this is from Emmy.
Okay. All right. Good question. You can first find, I would say, the expert. You'll find expertise directly in that Exchange. And that's really the intent, is to help our community with this transition to a co-structure automation expert to really have the expertise they need to be able to develop their program. So you'll find those experts. You'll find other communities where they share information, like expertise like Bridget has shared with us. But you're also going to find technical resources like software development kit and APIs and data set and some library. And definitely we're building a knowledge base as well at the same time. So really, it's also a great place where you can have training material. So if you want to upskill your team, you can definitely find some of that training material in there as well.
Excellent. Thank you. And at the end of the session, we're actually going to have a short video that'll also go into some of the benefits and some of the features of Exchange. Bridget, this one is for you. And every time I think it's going to be a hard question, you guys tell me it's not. But this one might be a hard question. So Bridget, this is from Annika. So whose role is it to push for and to implement industry standards?
That's a good question. I think really for us to be effective, it really has to be a full spectrum of all different types of users. From end users across multiple vertical industries to systems integrators like Wood to vendors like Schneider Electric. I think everyone has to get involved to ensure that ultimately what we result in is something that's workable. So I do think it has to be full spectrum. And within the different standards defining organizations, there's usually requirements about trying to achieve a balance of having good representation across those different groups and the other groups as well. Usually government regulators, get involved in certain types of standards development as well. So really, it has to be the whole ecosystem, I think, in order for us to be effective.
Yeah, so it's not one role, it's not one function, it's really everyone's function.
Yep.
Excellent. So Franco, going back to you, this is a question from Hamza, and he's asking, what is the difference between IEC 61499 and IEC 61131?
Well, this is a question I've been answering quite a certain number of times throughout the years. Well, to understand the difference, and I would say the complementarity between the two standards, you need to understand the origin of these standards. So 61131 was conceived as a way of bringing under the same hat different PLC programming languages. The idea was to homogenize the way PLCs were programmed. 61499 standard, on the other hand, was conceived and mostly from the same people that originally developed 61131, but it was conceived as a way to model distributed systems. What does this mean in practice? Well, it means that, first of all, the standard itself doesn't define a specific programming language. Currently, it is based on the usage of the structured text language coming from the 61131, but it could use whatever other language, for instance, C++. It's flexible with respect to the specific formalism used to program the code. On the other hand, what it gives you is absolute hardware independence with respect to controller, which means the possibility of being much more flexible in defining control topologies and software architecture independently one from the other, and then adapt depending on the specific use case. And this is one of the strengths of it. It gives you a natural object orientation, as I mentioned at the beginning, and also it is based on an event-based paradigm. Which doesn't mean, obviously, abandoning the time nature of typical feedback control loops. It means being able of managing in the right way also event-based connections, which is actually the paradigm using in the IT. So why it is difficult to connect IT software with typical normal PLCs because of the scan cycle-based nature of traditional PLC, it is much easier to do that with the 61499, just because of the fact that the standard is event-based in nature. So what you get in the end is complementarity with respect to 61131, but a much improved efficiency in engineering, especially when you have complex projects that integrates in between the IT and the OT.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you, Franco. Bridget, this question is for you from Dario, and he is asking, what is the biggest challenge that comes from the simulation hardware transition? Side comment is simulations are not perfect.
That's true. So probably a couple of answers there. One of the things that we did in the OPA pilot was specifically to ensure that we were simulating through the hardware. So there was, early development was definitely all in software-based simulation to sort out our algorithms, make sure we thought we had them right. But then we did step back and basically use some simulation hardware that fed into the actual hardware to make sure that we had sorted through as many of the gotchas that were out there as we could think of. So I think it is important, particularly when you're going into new technology, to step back and do some hardware-based effort as well as some software-based effort. And realistically, the simulating and the testing wasn't particularly hard. We definitely had a few things that surprised us along the way, and we learned from it. Though it really, for us, and it could just be me and my age, for me, the biggest breakthrough was making the step change to try and embrace some of the new technology and the orchestration with the 61499.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That reminds me of the comment that was made earlier in the session, that it's not always about the technology, but the people as well, right? So we have to take everyone along on this journey with that. Andre, back to you. This is a question from Robert asking, what technology do you need in place to use EcoStruxure Automation Expert, and how easy is it to get started?
Oh, It is quite easy, as I mentioned a little bit earlier on. And you need minimal, I would say, specialized technology, because we all base on open technology and known technology. So is it your network that you know of, and any of the other technology that you probably know of today? I don't think you need anything special. Yeah, we do our software, and our software comes quite easily. It can be downloaded quite easily. And we have also, as Bridget mentioned, we got built-in simulation that makes it easier for you just to use simulation to start with, not to have a full system if you want to just try it out. We have also soft controllers that we can also offer, and basically can run on any Windows platform or Linux platform, where you got the full controller capabilities that you can trial if you want to do it that way. So we have multiple ways to introduce you, but I would say the step 2 introduction is quite low, and you can start incrementally build your own system.
Excellent.
And I hope you agree with that, Bridget.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Good. Staying with you, Andre, actually, because we've got a lot of questions on Exchange. So this question from Caroline, and it's more of a clarifying question. So if I want to get started, I need help, I have questions that I ask, is it as easy for me just to go and register on SE Exchange?
Absolutely. That's what I was about to say. Is the only thing you need to do is go register on Exchange, and we'll give you the support you need to make sure you be successful on your project and your journey to learn EcoStruxure Automation Expert. So go and register now.
Good. So I have a question that came in. Oh, okay. So yep, it was a bit fragmented. So the question is, and I think Andre, I'll bring this one back to you as well. When will it be available? And what they're meaning is, when will EcoStruxure Automation Expert be available?
Yeah, we're just launching it in a few days. It will be available in a few days, effectively. So we're all ready and all primed up to be able to start seeing you coming to our doors and wanting to install EcoStruxure Automation Expert in your plan. So we're ready for you.
Excellent, excellent. I think we have one last question here before we are going to wrap up, and this one is from Winston to either Bridget or Franco. So maybe I'll let you both answer. Franco, I will start with you. So the question is, what will be the future of industry in the world after COVID-19? Will the control commands become more and more remote?
Well, it's honestly a difficult question, because I think we really live in turbulent and difficult to foresee periods. But I honestly think that there is a transition going on that is that complements well the situation we are living because of COVID, and that is about the role that people will have in the future with respect to even more advanced automation. I think you know very well that many discussions are going on about the role of artificial intelligence, the possibility that people will be substituted even in more complex automation systems. Well, honestly, I'm not a believer of this vision. What I think is that the role of people is going to change with respect to more advanced control and automation systems, which means obviously maybe less need of being physically present on a shop floor, as maybe it is today, and a capability of being more remotely interconnected with the automation systems, because the information which is coming through is much more advanced, because the communication is capable of sustaining higher bandwidth systems, because the safety and security of connection allows to manage these. So I certainly see the trends that we have been discussing today of these IT-OT convergence that the 61499 sustains as a mean to have our industrial world more ready to situations like the COVID situation generated, and let's say supporting a new role for operators.
Great, Franco. And Bridget, your closing thoughts for us?
Yeah, it definitely, echo a lot of what Franco said. The certainly highly hazardous processes, over recent years have been more and more remote, and COVID definitely shook a few people into needing to embrace that a little bit more. Though I think that my real vision of where automation is going is that over time we will leverage technology to do the repetitive, interactive type things with the process, And over time, the operations folks will be more focused on optimization and managing the whole enterprise. So I really see that as we become more open and can connect to business systems more easily, that it really will be real-time business control that will be, you know, what really is a step change and enables companies to be much more effective than, you know, they were able to be in the past.
Excellent. Well, I wanted to thank all of my guests today. I enjoyed the conversation. Thank you for being here. Hopefully you have seen for yourself that we no longer must live with the constraints that we've learned to accept in the past. We absolutely believe that the future of industry is wide open, and we would like to shape that future with you. EcoStruxure automation expert and universal automation really brings the future into the present. So we hope that you will come along with us on this journey. That concludes today's session. So we will see you in a few weeks to go deeper on the topic of data economy. In the meantime, like I mentioned, please stick around for a few minutes longer to watch a demo of the Schneider Electric Exchange. We had a lot of questions on that, so it'd be great for you to see it in action. Thank you again for tuning in. Please stay safe and take care.